I mean, running pretty good, 71% all sports the last 12 days, over 31 units of profit, 69% college hoops heater over the last couple of weeks. So we're making money in the tournament. I want to talk about the total for this game. This one's been bet up from the opener, and that was all sharp money. We saw, open as low as 171.5. Now we're seeing 175.5, pretty much across the board on my Odds Logic live odds screen. And when you see this type of move, you don't see a lot of moves like this. Bigger moves at this time of the year. You expect the lines to come out pretty close to being right. And this wasn't. The books underpriced the number on this total, certainly for the markets. Why? Let's talk about it. Alabama's number 4 net offensive rating full season and number 1 in pace. They are the ultimate over team in theory. BYU, full season numbers, number 9 offensive rating. So we're talking about 2 top 10 offensive teams. But BYU's full season pace numbers say they're number 178 in tempo. In my mind, that number is lying. All right. Those are full season numbers. BYU down the stretch, 12-3 to the over with 1 push their last 16 ball games. Totals at 150 or higher during that span. 6-0 to the over with 1 push. So this team, BYU, has season-long numbers that aren't accurately reflecting what they're doing right now. And from all indications, they're not looking to slow pace against Alabama. It's going to be run and gun all night. So I think this has the potential to be a very high-scoring affair. Loser gets to 90? Maybe. I like the over between BYU and Alabama.
Do you see this year in and year out, teams kind of changing their pace as they get into the tournament? Is this something that happens to a lot of teams where they just kind of get through the regular season and now it's time to turn it on in the tournament, or is this just kind of a one-off situation with BYU's pace increasing?
So BYU's pace is not just in the tournament. This has been it was about the last 10 games of the regular season where they started to run and gun, and that's when they played their best basketball. So they've continued to do it. In general, and we talk about the Sweet 16, in general, I want dogs, I want unders. I had dinner with Ralph Michaels last night, and he was talking about, again, we're not talking about crazy stats, but 58% dogs, 58% unders, over a long-term sample size. So that's the first way we're going to look in these games. This particular matchup, given BYU's season-long numbers and their current form over the last 10, 15 games, that's why the money's poured in on the under, and I think that money is correct.
Let's talk about Arizona and Duke. Obviously, Duke and Cooper Flagg are going to get all the love and all the attention, but Arizona, tough team. How do you see this game playing out?
So when it comes to Arizona-Duke, I talked about this game yesterday on Bet On It. By the way, if you haven't watched this week's Bet On It, I encourage you check it out. Andy Lang, you're on it. Ralph Michaels is on it. I'm on it. Of course, Kelly in Vegas, Marco D'Angelo, Joe Ranieri, and we're all breaking down the Sweet 16 games. It is WagerTalk's number 1 most popular show. Check out Bet On It. I broke down this game on that show yesterday. And I started it this way. All right. My analysis started like this. Duke is a hard team for me. I haven't played honor against them in the tournament so far. I think I've only played honor against Duke once all year. Why is Duke hard for me? Well, simple. Yes, they are that good. And yes, the betting markets aren't sleeping on how good they are. This isn't a value-laden team. All right, they're not a team. All right, there's a ton of value on Duke right now. There isn't. They're laying 9.5 to a really good Arizona team. Arizona's no pushover. So, am I inclined to back Duke in this price range against this team? Hell no. Am I excited about fading them? Not really. That being said, if I have to play the game, I can only take Arizona. All right, this is a rematch of a game that was played earlier in the season at McHale Center in Tucson, and that game was kind of a turning point for Arizona's season. Duke destroyed them in that game. It was 69-55 was the final. Arizona couldn't score. Caleb Love was shut down. And that was the game after which Tommy Lloyd was like, it was a tough night for me in the program. We got to figure out why the pieces aren't fitting together. We got to figure out what our certainties are and these things we have to have. And over the course of the next couple of days, there are adjustments we need to make. We're going to find out what those are. Well, Lloyd did that. That game was the turning point for their season. And after that, pretty much the rest of the way, or most of the rest of the way, Arizona was a bet-on squad. And the key is, of course, the development of the bench. They had injuries early. They lost their big man who was supposed to be a stud, the guy who was supposed to be able to contain flag in this ball game. And the bench production, the role players just weren't there early in the season. The Carter Bryant, Henry Vassier, Anthony Delorso, Toby Awaka combined 2 of 7 shooting in the first meeting. Well, that quartet against Oregon last Sunday, 32 points, 11 to 22 from the floor, 22 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. The depth is there for Arizona right now. And Arizona showed me a lot in that win over Oregon. And they've done it before. But the dig deep, the respond to adversity, it's a team that has, number one, the talent level's there. And number two, the mentality is there. They were smacked by Oregon early on in that ballgame and rallied back. Oregon gave them everything they could handle, and they made the plays down the stretch. Caleb Love. Us going down early, we never panicked. We never altered anything. I just think we were so poised throughout the whole game. No one was worried about anything but finishing and winning. So it's certainly an Arizona team that's shown character. It's an Arizona team I think is better than they were in the first meeting. I don't step in front of Duke likely, but I think this number is a little bit too high. Arizona plus the points if I was going to get involved in this one. I get it. It's all SEC, Big 10, Big 12. There's only one ACC. I'm not buying into the mid-majors are dead theory, by the way. Even this year, Colorado State was good enough. Drake was good enough. Colorado State obviously had the tough end game against Maryland. Drake had a tough matchup. But, I don't feel like mid-majors are dead forever because this year's tournament didn't feature mid-majors in the Sweet 16. If we're going to quote Aaron Rodgers, relax. It's a damn short sample size. We're talking about, the last 2 weeks means that all the mid-majors are dead. I don't see that the case. That's the case. The top 8 Ken Pom teams are all alive. Maryland's 10, Arizona's 13, Kentucky 15, Purdue 16, Michigan 20, Ole Miss 21. So, 14 of the top 21 teams in Ken Pom are still alive. There were 2 bad teams still standing. That's BYU and Arkansas. And both of those teams, you can argue they're undervalued. They both played their best ball down the stretch and have the talent level to compete, even though their full season numbers are lower. In general, I like betting against Cinderellas this round, but there's no true Cinderellas to fade right now. A bunch of really good teams still standing, all battle-tested, all for major conferences. I'm expecting a bunch of close games over the next 2 nights. And really, let's be real about it. We're in the Sweet 16, all right? There's 15 more games this college basketball season in the NCAA tournament. We obviously have that tournament in Vegas next week and NIT and that kind of stuff. But what are we going to find? Half a dozen good bets between now and the end of the tournament? I'd love to find half a dozen good bets between now and the end of the tournament. This is not a scenario where I personally am going to pepper the board with wagers this weekend. We'll find a handful of good spots, but Sweet 16, I'm not going nuts betting-wise this week like you can do in those opening 2 rounds. Personally, I'm keeping it relatively light, over the next couple of days.
Money-wise, 58% on BYU, getting the 5, 72% on Florida. I mean, everybody's on Florida. They're the most popular futures ticket, and today the most popular bet, 72% of the cash is on Florida, -6. 56% is on Duke, -9.5, and 56% is on Texas Tech. As far as some sharp stuff, BYU +5.5, Maryland +7, Arkansas +6 for tonight's.
I said I was going to do darts play, so we'll do a quick one. We do have an official darts play that is up at WagerTalk.com. That play goes off in about 3 hours. Free play, we're looking at Michael Van Gerwen over 2.5 180s. He went over this in all 3 matches last week. He was going after the treble 19s for a while, but I think he stopped that. He plays Aspinall. They played 2 weeks ago. MVG had 4 180s. The final score was 6-4. Went 10 legs. That's way more opportunities for 180. So Michael Van Gerwen over 2.5 180s. A couple NBA betting tips. Paolo Banchero has gone over his 1.5 made threes in 9 straight games. He's averaging 6.8 attempts. Dallas is dead last in defending 3-pointers on power forwards. And I broke down the Bulls in the Lakers game. I like this Bulls team total over 116.5. Lakers on a back-to-back. Bulls have scored 121 or more in 4 straight. They're number 9 in offense last 10 games. So there's a couple NBA betting tips.
Well, I mean, it would be easy just to take the Thunder, right? I mean, they just seem to cover and win every single game. They come into this one having won and covered in 7 straight. But the Grizzlies, they're huge underdogs on the road here. They play with revenge, but they're off an important 140-103 win at Utah. That snapped a 3-game losing streak. I think they can bounce back here, keep it competitive. I'm not calling for an outright win or anything, but the bottom line is that the Thunder's position in the playoffs is already set. They've sewn up the top spot in the West, and the Grizzlies, they are fighting for a top 4 spot here still. They're going to be without Ja Morant, but Scottie Pippen, he's filled in good. He had a huge game against Utah there, and the Grizzlies, they're actually 11-8 when Pippen does start this year. So, as I said, Oklahoma most recently beat the Grizzlies 120-103 back on March 5th. The Thunder, they've actually won all 3 games so far this season, and this is the finale here. Overall, Oklahoma City, it averages 119.8 points per game, but the Grizzlies, they average 122.4. The difference, of course, comes on the defensive end. Oklahoma City is number 1 on the defensive end. I really like Shai. He's Canadian, just like me. But I'm a little still unconvinced of seeing the Thunder go deep into the playoffs here, or, survive a 7-game series against Denver or the Lakers or the Clippers, even, for that matter. Perhaps they will this year. They'll get over the hump. But yeah, this is actually a brutal stretch for the Grizzlies. After this game at Oklahoma City, they have games at home versus the Lakers, Celtics, and Warriors, followed by road games at the Heat and Pistons. This is a very important game, I'd have to say. And so, obviously, it's difficult to say anything negative about the Thunder. As I said, they win and cover almost every single game. But yeah, most of the money is on the Thunder here. But I'm standing in front of the train here. I think that there's enough situational factors here working in favor of Memphis. So I'm going to grab all those points. Not call for the outright, but I'm expecting a closer battle here than what the spread is suggesting.
Main event, we have Brandon Moreno. He's minus 250 on the comeback here on Erceg is plus 190 now. Definitely have this line opening up around minus 175, and money has consistently come in on Moreno, pushing this to a minus 250. I'm sorry. But to your point here, when you're looking really at Erceg here, he may have gotten the most undeserving title shot ever. And that was off of knocking out Matt Chanel, who, is on the Mount Rushmore of glass chins, and he knocks him out, has a spectacular knockout. And then all of a sudden he's fighting Pantoja, loses to Pantoja, and then gets knocked out by Kai Kara-France. Now, when you're looking at Erceg, he's more of a grappler. He's more of a guy who wants to get this fight to the ground, wants to utilize his high-level jiu-jitsu, his submission game, and he doesn't really have the power. And again, yes, he knocked out, Matt Chanel, who, gets knocked out by a gust of wind. But besides for that, I think that, you're looking at Moreno, who is better everywhere. And yes, that's indicated in the line here. He's going to be the better grappler. He's going to have the better striking overall. And I think what he can do in this fight is utilize his volume and pressure. And I think that's going to work very well for him, where he's looking to really utilize that cardio, weaponize it. The pace also, I think, is going to really start to wear on Erceg as this fight goes on. Plus, I think that Erceg wants more of a, if it stays standing, really more of a technical, rangy type of fight. That's not Moreno. He's going to be coming in guns blazing. He's going to be swinging. He's going to force the action here. And that's one of the big red flags on Erceg is his durability. Now, he's only been knocked out one time in his career, or finished one time in his career, and that was his last fight. But besides for that, he gets rocked, wobbled. He doesn't absorb shots very well. I think that you're going to see Moreno pushing that pace, really forcing the action. And I think that's where he's going to find a lot of success. Moreno has the better boxing, has the durability to win in those exchanges. And plus, this will be, like you said, Andy, this is going to be in Mexico. I think Moreno is really going to push that type of pace and really look to put a stamp on this here. And I think Erceg is there for the taking to be put away. So getting off the minus 250 number, you've got Moreno inside the distance, is sitting around plus 240. Out of 5 rounds, I think he finds that finish on it. Yeah, so we got Ronaldo here. He is minus 160 on the comeback. You got Borjas plus 135. Now, both of these guys are newcomers to the UFC. You've got Ronaldo, who was 2-0. You've got Borjas, who was 0-2. And I do think that recent, really the recent results is what's pushing this line a little bit further than it should be. And when you're looking at it, you've got Ronaldo, who has those 2 wins, but he went out there and beat, Dennis Bondar, who I am not high on at all. I don't think he's very good, even UFC caliber. But Bondar went out there, he outlanded him 41-31, got multiple takedowns. It was looking like he was on his road to really winning. He gasses. He's not a good fighter. And credit to Ronaldo for going out there and getting the finish. And then after that was Ode Osborne, who, he's a good fighter, explosive, but again, he's just not really getting to what we all thought he was. But even in that fight, he goes out there, he hurts Ronaldo. He had a chance to even, submit him at a point and loses a very close decision. So it wasn't even really the greatest performance, at least in my opinion. And then, you've got Borjas, who fought 2 really strong guys in Joshua Van and Alessandro Costa. I'm high on those guys overall, but I think stylistically here, each of them do have their advantages. I think that, Ronaldo can utilize some of that grappling, and then in the other side, you've got Borjas, who is going to have the better striking. But I think that Ronaldo has to get takedowns. He just is forced to get takedowns here. And it's not really something that he's that good at. If the fight gets to the ground, he's high level, he's very good with his jiu-jitsu, but his wrestling really lacks there. And I think that's where this fight does play out on the feet. And I think that's where Borjas going to be far better in the striking. He's going to have the faster hands, 3-inch reach advantage. I do like his striking overall. And I think that Ronaldo, if it stays on the feet, he is just wild. He's reckless. He's there to be countered. So I think Borjas can keep it standing. And I think he should be the slight favorite here. I did talk about this or give this out on my page at WagerTalk at +150. So you are seeing the line move in a little bit here. But I do like Borjas here, and I think he gets a job.